माननीय मंत्री श्रीमती निर्मला सीतारमन जी to reply the discussion.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. So in the July 24 budget, a comprehensive review of the Income Tax Act was mentioned, and that announcement is the trigger which has led to reviewing. So in the July 24 budget, a comprehensive review of the Income Tax Act was mentioned, and that announcement is the trigger which the 1961 Income Tax Act, which since its passing in 1961 has over the decades accumulated a lot of newer features such as the TDS, the MAT, the transfer pricing rules, advance pricing, which are several agreements, and several dispute resolution rules. So each of these have served a purpose but have made the law itself very complex. So it was very tough to navigate for an ordinary citizen who's wanting to file his returns. But the largely dense and complex structure of that Income Tax 1961 Act resulted in various interpretations, and several avoidable disputes kept mounting. So not so much for the rate, but for the language of the Act, we were subject to too many litigations. So the density and the complexity of the Act and the verbose way in which the Act got written over the decades, with the different styles dominating it, made the Act very, very tedious for anyone to use. And in fact, many of the provisions of the Act reached the sunset clauses. So you were given a tax benefit for up to a certain number of years, and nearer the closure, some of them were not even reviewed. So the sunset clause existed, and at that time more reviews had to happen, whether the sunset should continue or you should close it. These kind of things have also made it sound as though it has become outdated in parts, not the whole thing, but in some parts. Therefore, we needed a new law, and that is why in July 24 budget, I had announced that we'll come with a comprehensive review of Income Tax Act 1961 to make it concise, lucid, easy to read and easy to understand. So that is the main objective with which we started this, sir. It was the review and the new income tax bill, which is now the subject of our discussion, were completed in record 6 months' time and introduced in the budget session of February 2025. This year budget session, we introduced it. The drafting of the new bill itself involved 75,000 person hours. That is the extent to which we...
Manya Mantri ji, okay. Honorable members, it is now 6 p.m. If the House agrees, we will sit beyond 6 p.m. today till the disposal of the Income Tax Bill 2025 and Taxation Laws Amendment Bill 2025. Do I have the leave of the House to extend the sitting beyond 6 p.m.? Yes. Thank you. Honorable Minister.
So, sir, the team of dedicated officers, I must appreciate the CBDT and also the Department of Revenue, who together did the drafting of the new bill, as I said, taking 75,000 person hours, with a team of dedicated officers. So the income tax department worked very earnestly and repeatedly went through for any overlaps or errors in the language and kept itself constantly reviewing and correcting, reiterating, and so on. So, before I get into the features of the bill, and I wouldn't take long to give the data, this is a bill which is going to be very consequential. An income tax act every year, some amendment in the finance bill itself, we all pay a lot of attention, go into the details, what will it mean, what is the implication on me, how many people will end up paying more, paying less, what are the other provisions with which action will be taken on me, and so on. All of us are quite aware of that. So for even one little amendment to the Income Tax Act, there is so much attention given for the finance bill during the budget session every year. So this is a very consequential act in that we are changing the 1961 Act itself in a way, removing it and bringing a new act. We won't remove it in total because there will still be some cases or some incidents which relate to that period, and therefore that 61 Act will continue in some form only to the limited purpose of attending to those period relevant matters. So if this is the seriousness with which this country is looking at bringing a assessee-friendly, taxpayer-friendly act, replacing the 1961 Act, and it is a milestone which this country's financial system will face. I am shocked that the opposition doesn't want to participate in it. And let me tell you, sir, initially, understanding the importance and the consequential nature of this, the opposition parties agreed in the Business Advisory Council, Business Advisory Committee, that they will indeed participate in the Lok Sabha and also in the Rajya Sabha on this bill and debate it. And they were allotted 16 hours in Lok Sabha, 16 hours of debate in Rajya Sabha. Most often the opposition says, no, you don't want to discuss anything. We are asking for public, people's interest, public's interest. We want to have charcha on this matter. We agreed for 16 hours of charcha in Lok Sabha, 16 hours of charcha here. Okay, you had some protest, you want to march to the Election Commission, you went. But you came back, participate. You agreed to give 16 hours time for this discussion. Why are they away, sir, today? And when we talk about tax and tax-related matters, they will say, no, you're imposing tax burden on the people. Let me tell you, prior to COVID onwards, 2019 onwards, Prime Minister Modi has given clear instructions. COVID or no COVID, we shall not increase the tax burden on people. Not one paisa has been increased. And in fact, the new income tax scheme which was brought in so that people who still want to enjoy the benefits of some kind of deductions can remain in the old scheme. But people who want to be paying less tax with or without deductions, we came up with a user-friendly new regime. And there, consequentially, every year we've been reducing both the rate and widening the slabs, income slabs. This year, historically, as a big milestone, Prime Minister Modi said at least 12 lakhs tak, no tax should be paid by any Indian citizen. Which means up to 1 lakh per month salary, no one will have to pay any tax. The structure was made simple, rates were reduced, rebates were given, so no tax for up to 12 lakhs income. And further, for others in a different income bracket, rates were reduced. So that is the way in which every budget we are making it easier for the taxpayer. Now, the the point that I wanted to highlight is, if there's so much concern, and rightly as an opposition party they should have the concern for taxpayers, that they should not be burdened. The rate was brought down till 12 lakhs in the budget, which was in the finance bill of February 2025. Now, as promised in the July budget 2024, we are simplifying the whole tax law itself so that compliance will be easy. Even that is a very big step, as I said. And for that, when allocation of time also has been given, opposition is failing its duty in serving the people of India, that they don't want to participate in this discussion, neither in Lok Sabha nor here. So, having said all this, I want to say, to remove any confusion in the minds of anybody, this amendment and bringing in a new law in the place of old 1961 aims at simplifying the language, the lucidity which is required for anyone to understand it, no anomalies or any overlapping language that leads to misinterpretations. So this aims at only that. There are no new rates being brought in here, no tax issues which are being brought in here. That will come every year as it does in the finance bill. This is purely for making the document simpler. And I must say, sir, like the way we've done today in the insolvency and the bankruptcy code, where we are bringing the next generation of IBC, bigger reform, that also has gone to the select committee. Lok Sabha has had that introduced today, and it has been sent to a select committee. Even this act, when it was introduced in February, in July itself I did say that wide consultations will be held. This act, when it was brought in, was sent to a select committee. And I must thank and put on record my gratitude for the extensive work that that select committee, in the chairmanship of Baijent Panda, MP from Lok Sabha, and his entire team, which consisted of members from all parties represented in the parliament. They all did extensive work, they consulted, they went around the country, they met with experts, domain experts, tax experts. They met with so many people and taken intensive inputs from these people. So, the committee consisted of 31 members from across, as I said, from across the political spectrum. The committee held 36 meetings, engaging extensively with government officials, stakeholders and experts, and received 334 memoranda containing a wealth of valuable inputs and suggestions. So the committee, if we did that many number of person hours, 75,000 person hours from the department, the committee had 36 meetings and took 334 memorandum from the public. Now, after all that, the select committee, in its report, which was submitted to the Lok Sabha Speaker, has put forward 566 recommendations. The intensity and the gravity of the work is what I want to highlight before you, Honorable Deputy Chairman, sir. Of these 566 recommendations, the committee itself agreed to department's view in response. The suggestions came, the department gave its response. The committee agreed for the department's view for about 370 cases. So 566 was the suggestion given. In 370 proposed cases, accepted the clause as was proposed in 370 cases. Further, sir, not going into too much details, but it is so important that I want to give a few information to you. Redundant provisions were removed. Archaic languages were also removed. We have reduced the number of sections which many honorable members spoke about. The total number of sections, sir, were 819 in the 1961 Act. 819 sections. They have now come down to 536 sections. Complete cutting down. And the number of chapters were 47 in the 1961 Act. We have cut it down to 23 only. The number of words, which again many members spoke about it, 5.12 lakh words were there in the 1961 Act. It has been now brought down to 2.6, literally half the size of what it was. Also, sir, because we are talking of 21st century, people are very used to having a lot of graphs, pictorial depictions, tables and matrix given to them so that they can easily understand things. So people have got used to that. Normally, our laws don't have any of these. They go very staid in language, very staid in the way the language is used, and only text will follow further text. Whereas we thought, since we are working this century, we should have tables to make people understand how the law functions, where possible. And we are also showing through formulations as to how it will function. So for the first time in this Act, we have brought 39 new tables and 40 new formulae to replace textual narration. So when people see numbers, when they see comparisons, or when they see it laid out in a simpler format, it is easy for them. So we've adopted this novel method in a law, in an act which is going to be passed by the Parliament, which normally doesn't happen. So the changes are not just merely superficial. They reflect a new simplified approach for tax administration. This learner more focused law is designed to make it easy to read, understand and implement. So as we are going through this exercise, sir, the officers of the CBDT are actively engaged in redrafting the rules, the subordinate legislations, with the same objective of simplifying both the provisions and the associated forms. So when the law is simple, you're able to read it easily, no interpretation problem. But what happens to the assessee when he gets the form in front of him in the computer? Even that is being simplified. So as is said in the Act itself, if everything goes well and if we are able to pass it, and I'm sure there will be members watching it very cleanly, the systems, the computer systems which run our income tax will all have to be now rebooted for the newer law. Because the time is very short between now and 1st of April 2026. We need to have all the computers reset for the way in which this Act has been subject to the approval of the Parliament. And therefore, if from 1st April 2026 we want to effect this, it's greatly appreciated that the Parliament has taken the initiative to pass it well in time, so that between September and 31st of March, we will get the systems also clear. And why do I say that? Because not only the computer systems will have to be kept ready for the assessee to file his own returns, but we are planning to issue a lot of SOPs and also frequently asked questions to be put up, so people understand what are the changes. If they go to the domain, they will get it from the income tax portal, all the details of what it is going to be like. Further, not so much getting into that detail, I just want to reassure that so much thought has gone into making this law. And it's not going to be confined to only what the law says. We also want to come up with some kind of a information memorandum, so that people who are dealing with the new Act sometimes can get this thing, because you're so used to 1961 Act, which ran the country for 50 years. And suddenly you say, where was this? In that Act, it used to be like this. Where is this here now? For that, a separate information memorandum will also be issued, so that people can refer that and then say, oh, then in this Act, it will be here. Like that, so that it will be like a guidance material. Even that is being prepared. That's not part of what is being circulated in the Parliament, but I just want to reassure that a lot of thought has gone into this. A lot of hard work has gone into it. More from the point of view of what will the taxpayer think about it, materials have been prepared. So that's about the income tax new act replacing the 1961 Act, the Income Tax 2025 Act, if passed from the Parliament. So that's about that one. The second, which you've allowed me to take up simultaneously, I'll just say a few words on that. Sir, it is a Taxation Laws Amendment Bill, the second one. Normally, taxation amendments are done during the Finance Bill. But some extraordinary situations, we do come up with corrections. There are 4 things this time which we want to bring in here. We could have waited for the Finance Bill, but because the economy, people, everybody wants to have very quickly a look at how these are developing, we've just done 4 things. One is giving tax exemption on dividend interest and also long-term capital gains to sovereign wealth funds and pension funds investing in infrastructure between 1/4/2020 and 31/3/2030, subject to notification. The Public Investment Fund, which is, and its largely wholly owned subsidiaries, will be named directly in the section for exemption. PIF is from Saudi Arabia. So that fund is being, like the way we've given earlier for other sovereign funds. That is one. Second, abatement of all assessments for block periods in such cases until block assessment order, which will be a major reform and ease of doing business step. So they can treat the entire block. Even in between one of the years there was a search, they didn't have to have confusion. Then there was this 75,000 rupees deduction, standard deduction offered for the income tax. People had a confusion saying, is this available for salaried people? What will happen? So we have given a clarification there. So hardly about 3 of them. And fourth is the unified pension related things, where confusion on deduction, if there is a parity with NPS and so on. So for that, we've brought in 3 points, which will be part of the taxation law, which is here. So above 4 changes are, sir. This is a very important line. I want the honorable members to concentrate on this. The above 4 changes which are coming through this tax law amendment are for the Income Tax Act of 1961. We are talking about income tax bill which is getting replaced because of language and other things and bringing 2025. But the old and the current prevailing act, 1961, requires these amendments. But these have also been, this is where I want the attention of the honorable members. So these amendments are coming into the 1961 acts. But these have also been incorporated in the new income tax bill also. So we need not worry about confusion. We have not overlooked any of this. So with these words, sir, I want to submit. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to explain. I request that the bill be returned. Oh.
I shall now
put... So 1 minute.
Yes, please.
1 or 2 members had raised.
Yes.
I just want to answer them. The first one is about a point which Niranjan Reddy ji, he is not here.
Just call out.
I just want to, YSRCP. So he had raised this point that there need to be sufficient safeguards, guardrails for protecting privacy in searches. I want to tell the members, sir, search provisions have been rationalized in this bill. These have been done to adequately cover the cases where there could be some technological challenges. However, I want to underline the fact that no new power has been given to the officials through this act. There is no new power assigned to the tax authorities. However, to allay the apprehensions, as I said earlier, to allay the apprehensions of honorable member and other taxpayers, CBDT will come out with a SOP as to how to deal with the personal information seized during searches. Because most often when searches happen, the computers are seized, people get panicky, they don't know what to do with it. So there will be an SOP issued for the assessee to know how to deal with such search-related matter. The second point that Niranjan Reddy ji had said, for some kind of appreciation of honest taxpayer, we also give certificates to honest regular taxpayers. I hope he's not missed out on that. I just want to inform him on that. So the other honourable member who spoke was Sanjay Kumar Jha, who had raised this issue of computer systems used in search provisions, saying that the definition is too wide. I just want to assure the member that all of us would appreciate that the definition of computer system has to be wide enough, sir. Today, the computer systems are of so many different varieties. Technology is making it wider. Technology is changing it rapidly. So by keeping it wider, we are giving an option for the taxpayer also that your computer, your technology that you're using is also covered under the definition. Otherwise, normally what happens is they look at the narrow definition and say, hey, you can't touch my computer because this is not defined by you. So we've kept that wider. With fast changing technology, most of the data is now stored in sophisticated digital devices. Therefore, for access to such data, there have been some rationalization in the search provisions, particularly where there is a cooperation from taxpayers. Sometimes taxpayers don't cooperate. Recently, most of our honourable members would have read in the newspapers that when the search happened, when they went for doing the search, they completely refused to give access to the computers. They said, we don't have the password. And the password, according to them, is kept in the country from where they have come. So they are making money in this country, and when wrongdoings are suspected, and when we go to search them, they refuse to give access to their computers. They refuse the password. So how do you at all do? But you're governed by the law of the land here. So such things happen when technology is actively used in running a business. So to allay the apprehensions again, CBDT will bring out detailed SOP for handling digital data. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I shall now put the motion regarding consideration of the Income Tax Bill 2025 to vote. The question is that the Income Tax Bill 2025 as passed by Lok Sabha be taken to consideration. Those